Hey, hey, hey! Welcome back to the Chao Garden. Another episode, another installment of Muramasa, the Demon Blade. When we last left off, mere moments ago, I was talking about something. I don't remember anymore. But we were on our way to Hell. And Hell, the shortcut to Hell is in Kyoto, I remember that much. It's only been, this is the very next minute after I stopped the last recording, so I'm acting like it's been a while, but it hasn't. Oh, she might have something new to say. But anyway, welcome back. I'm glad that you're joining me. If you've made it this far into the however many episodes in we are, I think this is 6. I hope you're having a good time. I hope that you are enjoying this game as much as I am in some capacity. It's pretty fun to play, but, you know, it's a visual spectacle, it's a visual treat, so hopefully that's enough. The music's pretty good, the animations are insane. This is a good one. I don't know how it's going to fare for me in my achievement hunting escapades. Making very, very slow progress on that front, but we'll get there. Just to lead me through hell, like that's a simple ask. So I would probably credit this game, among others, with my fascination with Japan and the idea of, like, samurai, but this game not so much with, like, a realistic depiction of samurai, because the realistic depiction are those guys that walk out and I have to break their blades. This game is very much like, we're a super-powered, like, killing machine. Oh, I thought it was dead. But this was one of the earliest games that I played that was so Japan-forward. I think I grew up in that era, as many of you maybe did as well, where Japan, there was like a lot of, what would you even call it? Japanophobia sounds wrong, but there was something akin to that in North America, where I grew up, and you'd be watching like cartoons or anime where there's clearly like stuff going on in Japan, or they're trying to reference some cultural thing. You know that famous example in Pokemon where Brock says something about like jelly donuts, but it's clearly like rice balls. You know, we had a lot of that going on when I was growing up, so the idea of unique Japanese culture was totally lost on me. They Americanized, they westernized a lot of stuff. And I think that that's a massive disservice, huge amount of disrespect there, but, you know, what's done is done at this point. So this game putting Japan, you know, in the spotlight, obviously, was really interesting, because I got to see elements of that culture, especially in the food and the setting, of course. The way that people dress, the way that they talk, being in Japanese. Really cool stuff. I remember one of my earliest memories as a Mega Man fan. I grew up on the Mega Man X games, but the PlayStation ones. The PlayStation 1 Mega Man games, so mostly just the bad ones, but for me they're fun, they're good. Holy shit, these guys are kicking my ass. So I actually really like Mega Man X6, which is massively hated, and I think it's probably deserved. That game, I believe I would credit it to their... Oh, I'm not supposed to be here, that's why those guys are so strong. I know I'm not supposed to be here, I just wanted to go here. Maybe I should turn around. I will turn around. Mega Man X6 has Japanese voiceover. So they brought the game over. The text and everything, the game is in English, but they speak, the spoken dialogue is in Japanese. Was Mega Man X5 in English? Yeah, the previous games were voiced in English, but I think a combination of probably lack of funding for a localization, and just how much people dogged on the, rightfully so, the really bad English dubs for their previous games. You know, Capcom in that era did terrible, terrible voice acting in their games. So they just didn't bother, like, having English voiceover. They just left it as it was. Point being, I was a kid, so I didn't really understand clearly the language, but like hearing them talk, I'm like, what's going on? Why are they talking, you know, what was essentially gibberish to me? This is a really long, kind of roundabout story, because the point I wanted to get to was there's a boss. There's like a secret boss you can fight in Mega Man X6. His name is Dynamo. When you would defeat him, at the end of his like text box, he would say "Jane." Pretty sure it's "Jane," which is like basically saying goodbye, and then he teleports away. I didn't understand that. In my head, everything had to be English, or it just like it was nonsense. So I headcanoned as a kid here, a little kid, like probably no older than 8 years old. I'm like, oh, why does he say Jenna? Does he have a wife named Jenna? Like I warped the words I was hearing into something that was like in my own language and headcanoned this thing that he has a wife to go home to, which is not at all something the game would ever address, even if it was realistic to assume in that universe. Because the idea of a different language didn't make sense to me. Hopefully any of that story was like coherent. I feel like I was all over the place, but I think that that's a side effect of isolating culture, especially in the United States and North America, where it's been getting better over the years, but it's still really bad, where people like to pretend that everywhere outside of the United States like isn't real, doesn't exist, isn't important. And like that's obviously not true. It's really unhealthy for North Americans to be thinking like that. Like United States Americans especially. But it's been prevalent. It's kind of hard to break that out of your own mind. You're kind of coded, programmed to think in that way. Subconsciously. I also grew up watching Digimon. I'm a big Digimon fan. That game was cool, and I didn't really recognize it until I came back to the series and watched Digimon Adventure 1, the very first season of the anime. That they were, unlike Pokemon, they were a lot more like straightforward and like real with the fact that this was a show taking place. The characters were from Japan. They lived in Japan. I think that they still like westernized a couple things here and there, but they still said like, oh, we're in Japan. We gotta go to like Nakano or something, some like actual district in Japan. I can't remember which districts they visit during the anime, but you know, actual places that are real instead of making it up and saying like, oh, we're in New York, which a lesser show like Pokemon, would probably have done in the if they had been given the same context. And I respect that from Digimon. I guess there's no greater point that I'm trying to make other than I like that. But I didn't understand it until I was a little older. And now that I'm even older, I mega respect it. Monka. And now I'm like in my head, I'm trying to plot my journey growing up and like when did I become fascinated with Japan and its culture? Like how did that happen exactly? You windbag. He doesn't give a damn. Yeah, for me, I think I'm sure that growing up with shows like, you know, anime, like Pokemon and Digimon, Sonic X, you know, things that released in Japan first and had to be localized versus shows that were made for kids in English as the first language. Oh, there's a shop over there. I wonder if I should go over there. Probably not. But yeah, cartoons would have been the start. I did play Digimon games growing up. I didn't really get access to Pokemon until I was a little bit older. I started later than a lot of other kids in my generation. And again, like I was saying, Pokemon exists in its own sort of universe. So even though the game series and everything is from Japan, it exists in its own world, and each game kind of decides to chart like a different sort of region that they take influence from. Whereas Digimon has always been kind of Japan-centric. But I didn't grow up playing like Onimusha or really like Final Fantasy games. So I'm really struggling to think like when was the next step for me. I didn't graduate to other anime. Maybe seeing stuff like Naruto. Oh, you know what? It was seeing Inuyasha, I think was the next big one for me. If anybody remembers watching Adult Swim, when they were definitely not old enough to be watching Adult Swim. So I grew up without a lot of access to... We didn't like have internet or much television overall. Can I fall off this? No. Okay. But there would be nights at different points in my life where I was either like at someone's house or... You know, there was a couple short periods in my lifetime, in my childhood, I should say, where we did have TV. And if you watched the Cartoon Network and maybe some other channel late enough, they would transition to the Adult Swim block that had, you know, more adult content. But a lot of it was animated. And so I think I would catch episodes of Inuyasha first and foremost, and that show, oh my god, I loved that show. I wanted to see more of it. I didn't get to see a whole lot of it. Barely, like, I think looking back, less than like 20 distinct episodes. But it was so cool, and I wanted to know more about that world. Very, very Japanese forward show. The characters are in Japan, and they make no secret about their influence. Because again, I think it's important that back then some shows would try to mask that they were in Japan. Although I guess adult shows are probably a different story altogether from the cartoons. Full Metal Alchemist, that was one that really, really hooked me as well. I think that was around the same era that they would be showing that on Adult Swim. And honestly, from there, I think it wasn't too much longer afterwards that I got my hands on this game and was also finally able to watch, like, anime on the internet. Like, full I think Netflix, the streaming version of Netflix had come out, and you could actually watch, like, entire anime series on there. And so I think, yeah, Death Note and Full Metal Alchemist were among the first, like, anime shows that I watched in their entirety. And I thought they were awesome. I was actually just watching Full Metal Alchemist again, the original run of it, recently, because I want to get through that show and like remember what the full plot was. And it held up. It was really good. It was really cool. Big respect to that one. And Death Note, I mean, Death Note obviously holds up as well. I revisit that one a lot more often just because I think it's so good. And it's shorter. It's easier to... It's more digestible, I think, for a rewatch. Yeah, I'd say those were the formative, like, it was mostly anime that brought me in. And it wasn't as popular, it wasn't as normalized back then to watch anime as it is nowadays. I see kids and, you know, parents, people who are like in their older 20s or 30s, that they're walking around with like JJK merch and is that show called Demon Slayer? I don't really watch anime much as I've been talking about it. I haven't kept up with anime, and I don't watch TV in general. I just play games. So I don't know what the current anime trend is other than what I happen to see through cultural osmosis. But yeah, Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen are the big ones that I can think of off the top of my head that I see all kinds of people walking around. Kids get like t-shirts at Walmart and backpacks and stuff that it's just so normalized now. Whereas I feel like when I was in school, when I was younger, if you liked Pokemon or video games or anime, like, you were ostracized for it. No question. And obviously that's pretty sad, but it's very nice to see that people can, like, enjoy these things now without necessarily the fear of being bullied. At least I don't hear about that happening anymore. You can still be the kind of person who is annoying about that kind of stuff, but in general, level 9 or above, in general, nobody like really thinks twice about the fact that if you were to come out and say, I like anime. Okay. 100 incarnations of Shadowy Ninja. But yeah, to end off, to cap everything, I think that it was probably when I was in high school, around the time that stuff like the internet was more prevalent, especially with video games. They had online services with the Xbox and the PlayStation and the Nintendo, the Wii and the 3DS, I think, were the first ones to get like full eShop services, so like that stuff was around. And once I had access to, you know, that stuff and I could play any games that I wanted, I definitely gravitated for the first time to playing like RPGs. Because prior to that, when I was growing up, I would just play whatever my friends had. As I have said in the past, possibly on this Let's Play, forgive me when I repeat myself sometimes, I have a terrible memory. But we didn't have like any money in my family growing up. So whatever games I played, whatever media I consumed, was just whatever my friends had and would share with me. And my friends growing up, they were really into shooter games and sports games. Gun or ball, you know? So I am still, to this day, a Halo fan, because my friends, you know, we grew up with Halo. I played a lot of Halo as a kid. And, like, nowadays I wouldn't pick up, like, a shooter like that if I saw it of my own volition, but I still have a soft spot for those things I grew up with, like Halo. But it was around the time that Call of Duty started getting popular that I had access to Tales of Vesperia. And, you know, Tales of Vesperia just spoke to me a lot more than Call of Duty, whatever the fuck it was. And I think that kind of solidified the kind of person I was. Anime, what would I even call it? Anime influence and style. Even though I don't, like, watch anime. And I haven't, really, for years and years and years. Like, probably over a decade at this point. It's still appealing to me. It's still a preference. I'm not sure how everybody else feels like their journey into discovering their taste and stuff went, but I'm wondering if I'm alone in that, like, where somehow it just spoke to me more than what I was actually being exposed to more regularly. And I'm gonna guess, honestly, I'd have to attribute it mostly thinking on it right now, and maybe I'll change my answer later, but Digimon and Inuyasha. Those are the two big ones that I'm thinking. They got me into it. It's their fault. This is for level 9 or above. Like, I'm over double that level. They're still dealing a lot of damage, but I'm also making mincemeat out of them. I thought it was supposed to be 100 ninja. Am I fighting 10 at a time? I was hoping it was 15 or 20. But this is taking quite a while. And I do not want to, No! Oh, I pressed the wrong button to heal! I pressed the switch item button instead of the heal button. Oh my god. Level 9, that's crazy. I'm sorry about that. That's a waste of time for you and for me that I have to redo this. How did I get almost a 150 hit combo before when it's the same amount of enemies every time? Okay. Just because it's fun to think about, too. My head is still in, like, what made me fascinated with Japan and, like, samurai and stuff. I'm thinking, like, at some point as well... Oh my god. Oh, I did it again. I pressed the wrong button. Okay, the long blade is not helpful against these guys. Again! I keep pressing the switch item button instead of the use item button, and now I have nothing. I'm doing much worse. No, I pressed it right when the ability was available. Level up. Oh, that's a full heal. Helpful in this instance, I guess. I remember when I was playing League of Legends, and another game that I feel like I never ever would have played if not for just like my friends like also playing it and telling me to play. I guess I can't say that for sure though. I definitely had a lot of fun playing that game when I did. But nowadays I'm so anti League of Legends and stuff that it's hard to imagine what I was thinking when I did play it. But there was a moment when I was letting my creative juices flow, and I designed like a character. Wow. A fan made like character design and kit for League of Legends on their forums. And it was like a samurai character. This was before Yasuo came out. And Yasuo's design was like way cooler than what I had come up with. I mean, it was such a unique play style, whereas I was thinking in vanilla terms where every character had like, you know, you either had like a targeted or you had a skill shot ability, and you only had 3 abilities and an ult. Like Udyr in that game, I'm gonna die. Udyr in that game was unique in the sense that his ult was like a form shift, and it gave him access to more abilities than other characters. And I'm dead again. That's reasonable considering I did so poorly that time. But yeah, Udyr having an ultimate and like LeBlanc having ultimates that it like expanded their moveset rather than being like one big singular move. Those were exceptions rather than like these days. I think a lot more characters have more going on, and this is my memory from I haven't played League of Legends in a really long time. I'm sure there's even more characters doing cool stuff than from when I last played. But yeah, all that's besides the point. I made a samurai character in a game that I liked just because the idea seemed cool to me, and there wasn't one in the game yet. I wonder if that still exists. My character idea on their forums somewhere. I mean, that's probably something from over 15 years ago at this point. A lot of the things I have said in this episode have probably really illustrative of my age. This is insane experience, by the way, like the grinding here, it's easy. The big problem is I don't necessarily know if I want experience. But yeah, I've liked the idea of playing as a samurai for a long time. This game certainly helped with that specifically. Like you could be fascinated with the idea of playing as a ninja, probably as well. But I don't know, the samurai has always just stood out to me more, I guess. Stoic and honorable and powerful. Even though I've always also been more of like an agility class player in a game where you have the choice between like dexterity or strength. I'm more of a roguish type player, but because yeah, now I'm thinking about it, there were many times in my life where I tried to play Final Fantasy XIV. It was this kind of curse. My friends wanted to... I played WoW a lot, and I had some friends that weren't into WoW, but Final Fantasy XIV drew them in more. So I tried to give that game a go during A Realm Reborn. I don't remember what happened. It didn't really like stick with me, but the point is, I'll save that whole story. The point is, I started that game as a ninja. Really a rogue, and then rogue becomes ninja later on. But that's more of a dexterity player thing. I think that is their main stat, is dexterity. And then I came back to Final Fantasy a couple more times over the years. Never really, like, stuck with it or enjoyed it as much as World of Warcraft. Like, World of Warcraft just felt like a better, more fun game to play, so I kept going back to that instead. Finally, though, at some point after Stormblood, which introduced the samurai job to Final Fantasy 14, like, it all clicked. Not the story yet, or the gameplay itself, but like the job, it clicked with me finally, like, oh my god, samurai is the job for me, not ninja. And it was just kind of locked in. Now, you could have designed the classes to play in whatever way and probably influenced all of that. Like, if ninja wasn't so difficult to play back then, maybe I would like ninja more and would have stuck with it, but alas, that is not how history bore out. I can't even keep track of like how many of these guys I've fought, how many waves I've been through. It's all a blur to me right now. Oh my god! Okay. I don't even know what happens when you beat this. How is this so hard when it's recommended for level 9? Is it really just because I don't have enough healing? Well, I do have enough healing, I just didn't put it on my bar, I guess. What is wrong with me? Sorry if this is boring. There's also the problem that the long blade, this Tamatsubaki, is just not cutting. It's too slow. I don't know what Death Blade means. Vengeance is terrible. Absorb life. Comment. Now that sounds cracked. Okay, one last try. I'm also afraid that I'm getting too much experience from doing this. I know that Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail, while on that topic a little bit, I think that that's wrapping up. There's a Final Fantasy XIV fan festival, like streams and stuff have been going on. I know people are talking about what's coming next for that game and its lifespan and what the expansion that's going to come out next is going to be about. I've been taking a break from that game. Hate me if you want, but I'm not a story player. I'm a story skipper for Final Fantasy XIV. You can light me up for that as much as you want. I have a fairly strict, like, no story policy when it comes to live service games. Just because I know it will never end. And it's a massive time commitment on top of the rest of the game already being a massive time commitment. And I just don't get invested in stories anymore. So one of the concessions I had to make when all of my friends begged me to play Final Fantasy XIV for the, like, 500th time, and I had already bounced off of the game 499 times, is I had to say, like, okay, I'll play, but I'm skipping the story. Like, you gotta know that. It's just not gonna happen. So, yes, I won't really defend myself on that point any further. It's just, that's just who I am. I played through the game. They didn't have story skips to pay for, and I would have never paid for it. So I did go through it all, but I didn't stop playing Dawn Trail because of the story or anything. But the other concession I had to make is I only play Final Fantasy XIV with mods. I need mods. Add-ons, I believe, is how they are referred to in World of Warcraft, but being a longtime World of Warcraft player first, add-ons were like completely supported by Blizzard in World of Warcraft. Like, yes, it became toxic at a certain point with like damage meters and whatnot, but that's a community problem. That's not the mods themselves. It certainly opens the gates for that stuff, but I think the ability to customize certain things that you don't like about, especially the user interface and stuff, those are really, really, really valuable things to me in games. It's the stuff I harp on the most, like quality of life stuff, excess amounts of clicking in games when you shouldn't need to. So when I can have an add-on that helps mitigate certain things like that, it's very helpful for me. So Dawn Trail was the first time after having played Final Fantasy XIV... Sorry, let me back up a bit. The other concession I made is I would only play Final Fantasy XIV if I could get mods. And I remember looking into it in the past, and they didn't have any mods for that game, or like they were very, very much like ban-worthy. So when I checked again, was it Endwalker? When my friends asked me again to give the game a shot for like the 5th expansion in a row. And mods were more widely available, or I was able to find them. Whereas before I wasn't, so I played that game finally with mods that reduced the amount of clicks I needed. Like it put things on hotbars, like class switching and whatnot, that before took like multiple clicks to do that I thought was just laborious. It made the game more fun for me, is the point. Fun enough that I actually got like really into it. So, then Dawn Trail comes out. It's the first expansion that I've been an active player for the release. So I bought it day one, and of course, it's a new update. It's a new expansion. Major system overhauls that break the available mods that players have made for the game that I was using for like a long time. You know, like weeks, if I recall. But I still, like, I wanted to be there. I think my friends said that they were setting up, like, a raid team. And so, from my World of Warcraft experience, I knew what it took to be raid ready. You gotta be, like, grinding. You gotta be in the dungeons, running those at the end. So you gotta get through the story fast. You gotta hit max level and whatnot. You gotta be crafting. So, like, I went hard on the game without all my mods that usually save me from clicks. Oh my god, I finally did it. Jesus. Yeah, okay, I had a feeling there would be some kind of accessory reward, which is why I felt like I had to do it, because I knew I needed every accessory. Unfortunately, I gained like 2 or 3 level ups during all that, which I don't think I wanted. But anyway, long story short, I played Dawn Trail so much in the first like week or two, but that's what Mad Tummy does, that I ended up damaging my wrists. I got a repetitive strain injury in my forearms and wrists from keyboard and mouse play, and I still have not recovered from that. And now Dawn Trail's like ending, so it's been a year and a half, 2 years? How long has Dawn Trail been out? It is now April 2026. I forget. It's been a long time, and now I'm afraid my future prospects of being an MMO player any further than I already have been, they're looking slim. So I want to get back into Final Fantasy XIV. I am interested. I just don't know if I can anymore. I'm washed up. Hopefully that game has been fun. I'm curious to see what they've changed. I wanted to play World of Warcraft again as well, but haven't been able to do that. Because that game also doesn't have controller support in the same way that Final Fantasy does, which has been helpful for me. Where am I supposed to go? Oh, there's the flag. I didn't see it at first. And I forget if I talked about it earlier, if I ended up re-recording. There was a bit earlier when I was recording an episode, and then I went back and was like, oh, I need to redo that. I messed something up, or like my mic was muted or something. So I forget if I mentioned I have been using Infinite Backlog as my new backlog of choice online. I've used a few. I try to figure out the best one. This is the one that stood out to me recently because it has RetroAchievements integration. There's a cross promo sort of event that they have going on right now with RetroAchievements' Wii Launch Event that obviously I'm participating in right now by playing this game. They also have Final Fantasy XIV integration, so if you look me up on there, and I'm sure if you're interested enough you'll be able to find me. My Final Fantasy XIV character is on there. My RetroAchievements account is on there. Repel the flames of rancor emitted by the dead. But yeah, hit me up if you'd like. I'll only private that information if you are naughty. But otherwise it would be fun to make some new friends. What's fascinating to me is there's so many different ways to play a game like Final Fantasy XIV. It's like both a criticism I have of that game, but it's also like a positive of it. That's the beautiful thing about art in video games, is you can just look at it a different way. But that game has so many different rabbit holes to go down that you can be a player dedicated to one specific thing, and it just works. World of Warcraft is very generally only a couple ways that people play that game, by contrast.
なぜその男の家に戻らないのかとお思いでしょう。私も早く枕元に立って恨みの一つも言いたいところですが、夫の家は山奥で夜になれば辺りはもう真っ暗です。
I like to do I like to do content, like old content and glamour farm and stuff, and collect minions and do achievements, of course, in Final Fantasy. I do that same stuff in World of Warcraft, and I think it's generally easier in World of Warcraft, but that doesn't make it better. But I don't really, I don't mess with the housing in Final Fantasy XIV. It's too expensive and, time-consuming. I haven't really done raids, current content raids, ever. Or what are they called again? It's not even raids, it's trials or something in Final Fantasy XIV. I get the terms mixed up a lot because they're not the same between games. Whoa. Is this really gonna be a thing? We're actually going to hell? I don't remember this. Whoa. Hell, Tokatsu, 8 views of hell. For real? I was thinking oh, I don't remember going to hell in this game. So I wasn't thinking that we were actually gonna make it. Whoa. Okay, actually I do remember a little bit of this background, the people shambling around. Wow. This is insane. Whoa! Hello, Minotaur? This guy is so tanky. Oh my god. Oh. This is not a regular enemy. There's no way. Giant calipers. Jeez, that had to be a mini boss. It's insane. God, all those people. How are we gonna get back? It's amazing that I just coincidentally keep stopping like 1 foot away from a fight. Maybe it's not a Maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe I'm lingering in the area for so long that some kind of invisible counter for like getting into a fight ticks to maximum. I don't know. I watched a really interesting video recently about someone who got caught in Final Fantasy VII speedrunning with a manipulated run, because the guy recognized that encounters are triggered based on like different factors, but especially the amount of steps that you've taken. Whatever, that was a bullshit hitbox. But he just like saw how this guy's steps that he was taking from one area to the next, and then like he was getting encounters in spots that he didn't think made sense, and so he was able to track down that this guy was indeed cheating, and it was kind of crazy. The amount of knowledge that people have about specific games blows my mind. I play too many different games to generally know like that much about just one game. These guys, I remember that time I was getting massacred by these guys. I don't want to fight them either. Whoa, this area is scary. Ooh. Attack and defense. Plus 10 to both. I hear somebody, yep. Had so many iframes. Ooh, Jesus, I didn't even see him jump. That one is not nearly as tanky as that Minotaur. Well, I have to go down, but I'm curious. Okay, there's an item in this room. Geokenji stone. So I'm assuming that's some kind of whetstone, but I already have one that restores 50% and one that restores 100. Okay, that is the 100%. Wait, restores all soul power. So there's 2 items that do the exact same thing. They're just named differently. That's interesting. It's another one of those game design things where I am really confused what... Oh, that's a Minotaur. I'm really confused what the intentionality is. Ugh, I tried to do that downward attack and it doesn't hit him. It doesn't connect. Okay, that time he went down a lot faster. I feel like that first one I fought just would not die. Okay, there's no items in here. Gonna be a fight in here, I bet. Oh my god. Hell sucks. It's just fight after fight. There isn't even a restaurant. Did that not hit the Oni? That sucks. Oh, I saw his shadow at the last second. Oh, I just realized there's blue ones. Because I have HP absorb on this sword. So those ones are healing. I've been healing 1 per hit that I do. I had subconsciously, like, I was noticing that there was these blue ones appearing on the screen, but I didn't, for even a moment, like, register what that was supposed to be. Yep, another fight. Here we go. I do not know why I pressed that button. When it comes to the consumables in this game, I am just like a mess. I did it again! I'm pressing these damn... The consumable button, the swap button. I don't even know why. I wasn't even trying to use a consumable. Oh, boy. All that for the sage pellet that I accidentally used in the fight because I pressed the wrong button. Absolutely not worth it. Hello. thumb is getting sore from mashing this attack button big time. Oh, Lord. No, dude. And there's a horse? I was trying to use my special ability there. Oh, I didn't even see him. Please get me out of here. This is bad. Oh my god. Their attacks are like overlapping on each other. No way. Oh, it just puts me in the same room. Thank God. If that put me back at a save point, I would have lost it. Okay, so I noticed something as well. Which one of these swords has Absorb Light? So it's the Ichimonji has Absorb Light. I think I was still getting the healing on a different sword though. I hate that he's immune to that. Oh. How am I not taking damage? Did I block it? Oh. Didn't even take damage, even though I thought I got hit like twice there. I wanted to test my theory about whether or not you get the effect from a different weapon. Oh boy. It's boss time, and you know what that means. So far, I think that this has been the longest episode. We're just about to hit an hour, so. I don't know if I'm going to be recording what happens next just yet. But for now, felt like we got a lot done and also very little. I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and of course, if you have been enjoying, please let me know, and if there's something I could tweak on the Let's Play episodes, you know, let me know about that too. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care.